Okay, so I'm in Sparta now, and there are more mosquitoes here than I experienced anywhere. Because they know there's people to eat here. So it's just considered, I guess, the end of my bicycle trip, or the first leg, or the last leg, I don't know. I wanted to take a full inventory of everything I still had with me on the bike. To possibly help somebody else, to help myself for the next time. I started to lay everything out, and I think I have the tool bag to lay out yet and the food to set out. But this guy here, I found him on the side of the road, and I love him now. He's my best friend. I did not find him on the side of the road. My sister's cat, but I'm crazy about him.
Hello. Say hello.
Okay, I can edit this. I like that guy. Okay, let's inventory my stuff. Sleeping pad. Light fleece blanket. Very light. Almost. The only really good use for that was to lay on top of that pad when I was sweaty and it was hot, because it felt like it wasn't like contributing to the sweat and the heat. It was like I was getting cooler on top of that felt blanket. Not felt, fleece blanket. And my tent. I've got stakes in there, 10 stakes, 5 eagle's nest stakes, and 5 small regular tent stakes. We got my maps. This would ride with me on the back so I could refer to it, and these were the rest of the pages for the long distance trip. I've got ultralight frog togs. Here's a backpack which I wore daily to hydrate myself with these 2 platypus water bottles and hose. I would also use this bag to have my snacks in for the day, like a fruit and power bars or whatever, so I wouldn't have to dig into my pack. This cargo net wrapped around the tarp, which held the pad, the blanket, and the tent, all rolled up, and that sat on the back of the bike. I've got my white gas fuel bottles. Those rode in the drink containers on the bike itself. Okay, so moving on to apparatus for tying and latching. I had these very handy dandy ropes with, you know, latches that you could just hook that rope into and it would hold it tight. 4 of those, 2 of these little bungee cords. I think I have 6 or 7. Those were used for the tarp. Most of these were used for the tarp and, you know, staying dry. But they could also be used to lash stuff together, wrap things up, like for instance this. This is the camera recharger, battery recharger, the cell phone charger, and camera cards, extra battery, which I'm going to need in any second now. Here's my stove, Whisper Light stove, pot, lid. Here's an extra pump for the stove, which is what screws onto the top here. I have 2 of those and I just decided to bring it along. Cup. And here is my mosquito net, which I only used once and the bugs were able to climb right through. This was almost unnecessary for the trip. Very light though, but bulky. Rag, I use that for maybe cleaning and chopping up vegetables. My spoon. Here are some sunglasses that I used early on the trip, but I stopped wearing those because it was easier to see cars without those on. This is a rear view mirror which attaches to your sunglasses. Very weird to use. It was almost just like a backup in case my rear view mirror broke off the bike. Next thing is the water filter. I use that. MSR Waterworks. I needed that and used that when I was camping in the wilderness areas, in the backcountry areas. Luckily I found water. Here's a pair of polypropylene gloves I didn't use. This is my clothes stuff bag, waterproof stuff bag, and I'll go through the clothing, which mostly it seems like I have an excess of clothing, but I wanted to have enough to last a week, maybe more. So this is all of the clothing that I brought with me. This is a button-up short sleeve shirt, polyester. I bought this one along the way because it's a little more comfortable than this, which is like a dual fold sports shirt. This in the hot weather was almost too much. It just seemed like it was just heavy and retained the moisture. Here's some zip-off pants. These are really nice. They're light. They dry fast, really fast. Those were great. Here's another pair of shorts I used, Mountain Hardwear shorts. I got 5 pairs of these really thin, maybe nylon socks, black socks. Those could last 2 days a piece. My clothes did get funky, like after a few days, 5 days. No, I'd only be able to wear a pair of clothes for 2 days, maybe 3. But they got funky fast with all that heat. 3 pairs of underwear. Hankies, I probably have 4 or 5 hankies. This one was cool. I found on the side of the road a skull hanky. These are really light thermal pants and shirt, long sleeve for sleeping. These are long legged pants, really super thin though. I wore those one day to try to avoid getting sunburned, but I would also use those at night to stay warm after I got rid of the sleeping bag. These are like thicker socks I use for sleeping, and this is a long sleeve, synthetic shirt, which came in handy for sleeping and maybe just to avoid the elements. Let's go to the bags. These are Axiom 45-liter bags. they held up pretty well. It was a 700-mile trip. These are starting to rust here. I'm happy with the bags and how they worked. 3 inner tubes, unused. Those tires I put on the bike, which the back one is almost worn down, prevented any flats. It's the bicycle lock. An extra bag, didn't use. And this is like my easy access body stuff. These are tablets. This is like Bengay, but it's like sort of a natural mixture. This is lavender essential oil, toothbrush, chapstick, okay. I got the camera bag and the helmet. This Gatorade, which is pretty much half used. I was using that every day. This was the handlebar bag. I'm sure there's a lot of excess in here, but I was more comfortable about carrying it just in case. ID card, toilet paper, lighter, headlamp, stopwatch, alarm, pepper spray. I'm going to set this stuff out. These are the tools I brought. Multi-tool, which I found. There's a screwdriver on there, a knife, 2 screwdrivers, needle nose pliers, a saw, bottle, can opener, I think, and some scissors. Multi-wrench, socket wrench. I didn't use that. Allen wrenches, which I used maybe 1. A spoke wrench, which I didn't use. Bicycle pump. And I found this. Okay, this is like a miscellaneous repair bag, maintenance bag for the bike. I've got zip ties, didn't use, super glue, didn't use, extra lighters, didn't use. Here I've got 4 spokes, a brake cable and a derailleur cable. I felt this was essential to have and I didn't use it, luckily. Toothbrush for cleaning the chain, I did use that once. I used the white gas to clean the chain, it was excellent. These are for the backpack, which I shipped away, the big heavy one. This is for the hydration tube. This is all for fixing flat tires, which I didn't use. Maybe excess here, you know, maybe a little excess, but I guess I was comfortable carrying that. And this is my lubrication bottles here. This I used. I don't think I was very happy with that because it collected a lot of stuff, man, on that first leg of the trip, and it may have been the roads I was going down, but that chain really got dirty, and I think it was because of this. It just collected the crap. I used this to lube like everything on the bike, even the chain, and I was a little happier using this Tri-Flow. And this was just some general lubricant that I didn't use yet. I didn't open. So this was excess. And that's it for the tools. I've got one more bag to show you that I kept in here, but this handlebar bag I'm happy with. It took a lot of wear on the trip, but it's not waterproof. So this is still wet from the trip, which I don't really have a problem with. Let's check this. Okay, here are the last items that I had in the handlebar bag. I use this tape, this packing tape, every time I sent something away. I taped my stuff sacks because they were kind of falling apart. Emergency blanket. This is to clean the stove, some wire, tweezers, paper clips, safety pins. This is my all-in-one camping whistle, thermometer, compass. I didn't really use that. Sewing kit, which I did use. I sewed up the backpack, the small backpack. Extra batteries for my cat eye. And that cat eye, man, was my best friend this trip. I didn't want it to run out of power. Here's a kind of excess, but you know, I needed this stuff just in case. Rear flashlight and a front flashlight. Rear lights, front lights for the bicycle, and a battery charger. A little bit excess, but I brought it and it's here. So next we go to the food. Maybe. Health bag, the orange stuff sack. Those stuff sacks are waterproof. I've got antiperspirant, which I put on my feet, my crotch area to prevent chafing, underarms, neck, face. Baby powder, which I put in my boots and my groin area at night to kind of feel fresh. Hand sanitizer, toilet paper, earplugs, fingernail clipper. I needed that 2 or 3 times on the trip. Q-tips, soap. I did wash up at a campground with soap and a handkerchief, but it's really tricky because you need some privacy and it's not always easy to get. I would have liked to have done that more often, but I just couldn't without, you know, showing everybody my body. All kinds of tablets here. Floss, sting and bite mitigator. I use this many times. Very helpful. Recommend getting something like this because I was bitten hundreds of times. This stuff, maybe I could have used preparation H, but didn't need to. This is just in case I got poison ivy. Band-aids, razor, arnica, didn't need the arnica. Condoms, didn't need those. Moleskin, and I didn't need those. My feet were not really used. It was mostly my legs that were doing the work, pedaling. Okay. This is like my paperwork stuff bag, which I'll show you what's in there. Was in my paperwork bag, a book to read. I finished one and got another one on the road. US map. This is my feather collection, which I almost didn't bring, but I realized they were in the bag. A pen, some more chapstick, safety pin. This is my ID bag and kind of like my personal life bag, my social security, birth certificate. All my passwords are there. I had a crossword puzzle I was working, and this is a planner that I got with all my contact information. Another feather I found on the road, maybe for good luck. I think it did help me with preventing that crash. Okay, lastly, the food. This is what's left over, and I'll explain. Okay, here's what's left of my food, and I got a recharge package in Hawesville, which I had for 3 nights, which is 3 dinners and 4 days. So there's maybe another, if I stretched it, a week's worth of food left. Okay, so here's some leftover pasta, some dehydrated potatoes with the flavor mix, This was left over from the very beginning. There's some TVP, some lentils, seasoning. This is a half of a pasta package which I picked up on the recharge. I've got some tea, which I had from the beginning, some peanut butter, which was in the recharge package, but I bought some crackers to help use up the peanut butter. There's very little coffee left. This is what was left from the beginning. This I picked up at the recharge. That. Here's a whole lot of trail mix, which I put some peanuts in that I had from the beginning. They were in the shell. And this, my breakfast mix, which is raisin bran, oatmeal, and granola. I didn't finish from the beginning and had to put in another batch. So this is probably 10 or 12 days worth of breakfasts. And just a few snacks left and some crackers. And that's all of the stuff that I brought with me on the trip to Sparta. Looks like a lot. There is excess here, but I had everything I needed. I really did. That's the end of my first bicycle touring trip. Yay!